All right, welcome to Marketing Clarity with Outlaunch. Okay, my name is CJ and I am the CEO of Outlaunch. This is a 20-minute talk about marketing. Today it's your website is either working for you or against you. Isn't that the truth? I'll tell you. So, just to be brief, this is layman terms for our customers. This isn't agency talk. We want to speak directly to business owners like yourself, and we want to make it quick and brief because we know your time is valuable. So we're going to get right into it. And then afterwards, just shoot us a message if you have questions. Okay, your website is either working for you or against you. Well, I've been building websites for 15 years and ranking them at the top of Google and getting them found online. So this is one that I definitely can understand because I see tons of websites against each other. In other words, I'm seeing a whole like platform of websites and how their success is. So I can see success on some, failures on some, and then it helps me figure out what works for certain industries, what works for certain, pages, for certain channels, and then how to fix that. So definitely understand how to make a website work for you. So we're going to talk about kind of four signs roughly of, I'll probably end up going rogue, but four signs of things that are quietly losing you leads. What high converting, service businesses, websites have in common, and which fixes are genuinely worth the money and which aren't. Let me go ahead and start it off by saying how interesting it is to see that there are tons of websites out there where the business owner just is like, oh, I just have a website. I don't need it. It's not really important. It's just there, and there's just no value put in a website in many people, especially in the service industry. And I find that very interesting because those companies typically aren't the ones who are growing very large. They've got a lot of great referrals, but the competitors that they want to be like, who are huge, they don't think the same way necessarily. So we want to start valuing the website first off. So four things that might be losing you leads on a website. Well, the first thing is no one can contact you in like one tap. So when you're on a website, most of the time you're on a mobile and you see that phone and boom, you should be able to click it and tap it and get there right away. If you can't find the phone, then that's even a bigger problem. So consider the fact that more than 60% of your viewers are coming to your website on the mobile device. A lot of people optimize and view it on their computer, and that's where they check it all out. But most of the action's really happening on the mobile side of things. So we really want to be ready on the mobile side to get that one tap, phone contact. And you have to be able to find the contact first off. So let's start with something extremely basic like that, which sounds, like it should be, understood, but there's interesting how many people don't really have that set up properly. So maybe you think you have that set up properly, but go check just in case. Go to your website on your phone, check. Is my phone number quickly accessible? Is it clickable? Let's see. Okay. It falls into a 5-second test. Think about it this way. Just like social media, you're flipping through and you're scrolling and you're scrolling and you have even less than 5 seconds to get that scroll done. Well, the same thing on a website. You land on a website, you land on what's called the hero, image, the hero, main part of the site before the scroll. And you've got about just 5 seconds to get them. Is my contact information, is my sales pitch, is my business understood? Can I get them to either scroll or click? You've got just a few seconds. So make those seconds count. That one bit of wording could, account for anything. That little bit of that first pitch. Think about it like the elevator pitch, okay? You're in your elevator and your customer steps on board, but you're not going up 6 floors. You're going up 1 floor. So you've got about boop, just a second and then they get off. If you had just 1 floor of conversation with a customer, what is the bare bones that you would make that pitch that's the most impactful, the biggest hook, the biggest interest? That's what you need on your main homepage. And again, the contact should be right there, ready to go. Other people are going to need more time. So they're going to keep scrolling. They're going to keep scrolling. You're going to give them more information. But you need to get that big hook right there first. It needs to be understood. Some people don't realize that they're speaking their own language through the industry, but the customer itself might not be receiving that language the same way. So think about the way your customer views something and don't necessarily always word it the way your industry words it, but the way your customer perceives it. So get right straight to the point for them. It's is it loading slow? Loading is always something that's a potential big deal on sites. And there's a difference between loading so slow that people give up or, loading in a way where, well, let me put it this way. Some websites load as you're on it, so it's continuing to load, but the customer hasn't realized it because what has already popped up for them is working. So, you know, running test on load speed and stuff is important, but I think the biggest test is just going to the website yourself and seeing is the information popping in fast enough. And if you can go to that website and it pops in quick enough, you're good. If you're sitting there long enough where you're like, oh, if I was a customer, I would have left by now, then you've got a problem. There's no proof anywhere, no social proof, no proof of, being able to deliver the product or services. It's funny, most people just say, okay, build a website about my service company and here's what I do. Okay, great. Now you have a website that looks like everyone else. It just says, I do this service. And that's what everyone else's website says. I do this service for this person. Well, you want to start giving social proof. You want to start answering with FAQs. You want to start diving deeper on the story that pertains to you and start getting really unique. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. So I guess that would move us right into, well, that would be some of the things that would be quietly losing you leads. People don't get the message right away. They can't access contact right away. It's a basic bland site that just says, I do this. It doesn't give them really any social proof or any reason to want to trust you over someone else. And it may low slow so much that they leave. Okay, so what does a high converting service business website have in common? They're unique to their own business. The content itself is speaking directly to the customer. There's social proof that you can do what you do. There's content that explains and answers questions. There's content that dives deep into why your business is unique and what your story is to touch them on an emotional level. There's content that actually shows your experience and your expertise. So think about it this way. Google actually has an acronym for this. It's called EAT, E-E-A-T. I talk about it a lot. Experience, expertise, authoritiveness, and trustworthiness. Now, even though I say the word Google, because that's pretty much where it all came about, the AIs are part of this same whole methodology. And the point is whether you're on AI searching for someone or you're on Google searching or you're on Bing or you're anywhere doing a search, whoever is delivering the results of that search wants the same thing. They want the person to get a relevant business. In this case, it's a business search, a relevant business who has expertise, authoritiveness, experience, and they're trusted in their industry. Because if the platform doesn't deliver that, then the person who did the search is not going to find the correct results. They're not going to be happy with the business that came to them. So instead of devaluing your website and making a generic site that just says generic services where anyone else in the industry could put their logo on it instead of yours, and it doesn't matter because it's all the same, you have to consider making yourself unique. You have to consider building a website. You know how many people have websites where they don't have their staff or their owner on there or their story? Most people do that. It's just generic, like people don't want generic. You're showing up to their house to provide a service, or they're going to your, location to get this service. There needs to be some real relationship, some real teachings going on, some real sharing. So you have to really build some trust with these people. And in order to build trust, you have to explain your business. So what does a high converting website look like? It's a website that's unique to you. It's a website that answers all the questions that your customer needs. Picture your customer standing right in front of you right now. And they were asking you, well, how do you do this? Well, how long have you been in business? Well, why would you do it this way? Why wouldn't you do it this way? Why should I trust you over this person? What makes you unique? What's your process that you've done this? How long have you been doing this for? Do you have some reviews or testimonials you can share with me? And, well, how do I do this? And how do I do that? And why would I do this? All those questions that get answered need to be answered on the website because a lot of people aren't talking to you yet. They're going to the website and that's your sales tool and it needs to speak with people. So the website itself needs to carry this information that is inside of you and your team that you tell your customers when you're face to face for the time when you're not face to face and you need to explain it to them when you're on your site. I mean, it's really as simple as that, even though it's not so simple. That's the most important part. Sure, there's technical stuff on the back end, that's important, but that's the absolute most important part of your website. And here's the kicker. That's the information that AI wants too. So consider the fact that your website may never, just think about the idea that building the website isn't always to get found on Google. So right now, you still want to build the website and the content and the experience all the way that I just mentioned, but it's not always just doing that to get found in search results. Now, AI is finding this information. Sure, they're looking elsewhere to find information, but this is a huge source where you can really get a lot of content. And AI already has access to content. AI doesn't want the same content. AI is looking for new content. Contribute something new to the internet. Contribute new content about your industry. Contribute something that's written specifically to your processes other than the way that other people do it. And that's contributions are what AI is seeking to find because they already have access to all the regular stuff. They want something new. So consider contributing something new to the industry about your business. Now, let me go into a little bit more technical on what makes a high converting website. I'll talk technical without using tech talk. So what we do on every website is we'll run an audit and we will find every web page that exists on that site. And then when we can see all the pages, so we'll run an audit and a lot of people think they have 5 or 10 pages, but they don't realize they have all these blogs and all these service areas and all these other, buried pages. And a lot of people end up having hundreds of pages, like there's a lot of websites that may have 500, 600 pages or even 100 pages when, the owner doesn't really realize it's that massive. Now, when you take a 500-page website and you put it into a spreadsheet and you have all the pages listed, and then on the columns across, you can see, okay, which pages have traffic, which pages are ranked in Google or search engines, which pages are showing impressions in search engines compared to ones that are getting clicked, which pages have links to them from other sources. Then you start seeing this big picture. For instance, let's take someone who says, wow, I have a blog with 100 blogs and I love my blogs. Do not touch my blogs. Okay. Then you do a report like this and you realize that 50 of the blogs have zero traffic to them and they have zero links. And maybe they have impressions, but they have zero rankings, like they are back. So ask me this, is that blog important to you if it's got no one reading it? No one linking to it, no one, viewing it, it's not ranked in Google? Because if it's important to you, it's not important to Google. Google's going to see that, or the AIs, the whatever, the whole internet's going to see the fact that you have content with no traffic, no impressions in Google, no rankings, no links. And Google or the internet is going to say that is unhelpful content. So if your site has 500 pages and 300 of those are unhelpful content, then all that does is just destroy your website's trust flow on the internet. Every website has a trust flow, a citation flow. These are all terms that basically say, is this website strong for the user? Is this website connected strongly to other websites on the internet? So I would argue that if you had a 10-page website where everyone's going to all the pages, all 10 pages are ranked top of Google, and everything on that site that is small is providing answers and user experience that people like, and it's getting clicks, people are staying on it, they're going to all the pages, and they're contacting you. Compared to a 500-page website where maybe 450 of the pages nothing's happening. They just exist, but no one's going to them, no one's finding them, they're not ranked anywhere, no one's connecting to them. So think about it that way. Is size really matter if no one's even viewing the content? What's the point of content if no one sees it? The point of backlinks isn't for an agency to go and buy a backlink. The point of a backlink is that you wrote a great blog or you have a great piece of content. Someone searched, found it, and linked to it from their blog. So let's say I'm writing a blog and I'm like, how to get backlinks. And then I do a search. Well, what are some of the best methods to get backlinks? I'm doing research as I write my blog, and I find some great articles. I'm like, wow, that guy really explains it well. You know what? I'm going to link to that from my blog. Part one of getting backlinks is to do XYZ, and it's, can be explained in more depth here. Visit this site. Boom, I link it. Now I'm taking the user deeper to get more knowledge. That's what a backlink in a blog is. It's based on the concept that you're writing information to teach people or whatever it is that you're doing with that information. And then you're also linking it to other sources to go deeper into that or take them into subtopics of the same thing. So a good blog should be found. Well, a good blog should answer a great question. It should answer it in such depth and such experience and expertise that the person reading it really gets a lot out of it. And then other people find it, like the content so much that they link to it from their websites and their blogs. And that's how things build. So if you're using AI to write generic slop, then no one's going to care about your generic slop because there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of the same generic slop that's out there. So no one cares about that. It's not really answering any question. It's not contributing anything new. So it's not going to really get picked up. And it's not going to get traffic. So one of the ways to really get a high converting website isn't to necessarily think about the size of the site. It's to think about the fact that everything on that site is useful and everything on that site is going deep into answering a customer's needs, answering their solving their problems, relinquishing their fears, all of that kind of stuff. If they're scared to choose you, if they don't know why they should, if they don't know how to get this answered because they've never dealt with it, then answer it, lower their fears, teach them, do all these great things and do it in a way where your site grows. It's okay to have 500 pages on the site, but if 500 pages are getting viewed and in rankings and working, then you're going to have a great user experience, a great trust flow. If you have a bunch of crap, then it's going to be a bunch of crap, and the little guy who doesn't have a bunch of crap is going to beat you. So AI isn't even favoring the big people anymore. They're favoring the smaller local people quite often. It's interesting how often I do a search in AI and the smaller local people are the ones actually getting favored. So I think AI opens up an opportunity for smaller businesses to really, have a voice, but they have to have a real voice. Let's not go in there and start getting all excited that AI can write us 10 articles a month. So now you're spitting out 10 articles a month and you've got, 100 articles, very quickly. But it's all junk because you didn't even read what AI wrote. You didn't contribute anything. You just said, I service this. Can you write an article? Boom, it wrote the whole thing. You got to go deep into this stuff. You got to teach people. Okay, so the fixes that I would say first off, we got 1 minute left. The fixes that I would say first off is go look at your website on your phone because that's how most people view it. Is your contact information very readily accessible and is it clickable? Is the messaging on the phone solving a problem? So hit people up with problems. People are, psychologically drawn towards the problem that they're in. If you say we can offer, HVAC, but, then okay, everyone can offer HVAC. But if you say something like, is it 8 o'clock at night and your HVAC unit just went out? What are you going to do? We can be there in an hour. Boom. Now you've hit them up with the problem that they're probably dealing with. Psychologically, they feel that because they understand that, and you've given them the solution. So hit people up with a great message like that. Then start going through and really answering questions, showing testimonials and reviews, teaching people about your processes. Don't be afraid of what the competition sees. Let the competition be in your taillights. You look at them in the rear view. Give your customer what they need. Don't be afraid to put stuff out there because your competition is going to steal it. Everyone's going to steal everything. You be in the head. You be ahead of them. Okay, so that's 20 minutes. So the takeaway is there's no such thing as a neutral website. It's either costing you leads or it's earning you leads. And that's go ahead and do your homework. Go check out your website and see what it looks like. Now, next week, you're going to have your 90-day digital marketing game plan. So next week, 9 o'clock, 90-day digital marketing game plan.